Hey, this is WTOP entertainment reporter Jason Fraley, and this is a real treat because as you can see on our four panels here in our Zoom call, we are here with several voices of classic soul. That's the group they call themselves, Voices of Classic Soul. Take your time, take turns introducing yourselves. We'll go clockwise. Just say your name real quick and the famous group that you play with.
All right, just start over here with Joe Coleman. I sang with the group called the Platters for about 20-something years. Only You, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, The Great Pretender, songs like that. It's been a wonderful journey traveling with those guys. And, you know, of course, now with the Voices of Classic Soul, three good friends running around the country.
So many great ones. So many great ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. How about you go next, Joe Blunt of the Drifters?
Hello, everyone. And my name is Joe Blunt. We called the Drifters for many years. But in about 1975, about 10 years.
Awesome.
Local state organization.
So many songs, Under the Boardwalk, This Magic Moment. We'll get to all those as well. And then rounding it out as we finish our clockwise turn around this clock, introduce yourself, Theo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Theo Peoples, formerly of the Temptations and the Four Tops.
The only guy to be lead singer in both. Very, very cool. Well, there's so many music memories and everything and songs we want to talk about with all of them. But let's start by talking about the reason we're talking, your events you're coming in DC. So I guess first off, on Friday, you guys will be performing at the Next Generation Indie Book Awards at the famous Mayflower Hotel in DC. That'll be this Friday. Who wants to talk about that? Joe Coleman, why don't you tell me about how what will you be performing? I guess it's a book awards, but I guess they'll have a live performance with you guys.
Yeah, we'll have a live performance at the Indie Book Awards. We had the great pleasure of just prior to COVID, we won several awards ourselves with our book, My Time to Shine. But we'll be there on Friday night, doing our thing and for the award show. And I think that we hit about 7 o'clock in the PM. If you happen to be walking down Connecticut Avenue, just pop into to the Mayflower and we'll be there doing our thing. It's going to be a great night.
So the awards, it's like a free event. So you can just pop in and listen to you guys perform at the hotel?
I told, if anybody believes that we're in trouble here, this is actually, the awards gala is a private event, and so the awardees and those running the show will be there, and we're just going to make sure that everybody has a good time at their gala. So unfortunately, this is not a public event, but certainly cheer us on from wherever you are.
Right, you might hear the famous tunes echoing out into the street outside the hotel. If you're in the lobby or something, you can kind of hang out and listen down the hallway. I love it. Real quick, Joe, you also mentioned something about you guys just released a book. The three of you guys released a book together?
Well, in truth, that the book was my previous group, LCB, Leonard Coleman and Black. Mr. Glenn Leonard was with us then. Theo was ably stepped in and we reformed as Voices of Classic Soul. But during those years, we did a book with that do headline books, Kathy Teets, so we still kind of have that there as one of the great honors to have been featured in the book. The good news is that we're coming out with a new book under the Voices of Classic Soul banner with Theo Peoples. Theo will be prominent in that book since he's got, I'm not sure if Joe and I are even going to be in the book.
Oh, come on.
He's got two groups to talk about, the fabulous Temps and the Tops to talk about. But so that book is in the works now, so that we'll be coming out with a book that features Mr. Theo Peoples and the two of us, Joe and I'll be kind of mentioned in the book will be it's gonna be great. But yeah, but that's what that's about.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Theo, do you have anything you want to add about that? Are you going to feature them in your book?
I think Joe's pulling everybody's leg. It's an honor to be in the book as well. And I'm pretty excited about it. But to actually be in the book with these two icons is, what more can you ask for? So I'm honored to be a part of the book.
That's awesome. And I can't think of a better place to plug it than at the Indie Book Awards. So maybe you'll get nominated for an Indie Book Award afterwards when it comes out, and you get to go back and play again. All right. Very cool. All right. So that'll be on Friday. And then you gentlemen will also be performing at the Carlisle Club. I think it's on I Street Northwest in DC on Saturday. How's that performance going to differ from the other one? Or is it pretty much the same, but the awards is the private thing, and maybe this is where the audiences can come.
This is where the audience can come on down and grab a seat. We're pretty much will be the opening act for the club. The club, it was previously known as the Carlisle Club in Alexandria, Virginia. They have since moved and will be opening this week as the Carlisle Room on the 1350 I Street Northwest, downtown DC. You can go to carlisleroom.com, make a reservation and select your own seat. Select where you want to seat. You have a seating chart there, and grab a seat, a couple of seats, bring your crew, come on out. The show's at 7:30. Doors open at 5:30 for dinner. It's a wonderful supper club, great ambiance. And so it's going to be a good night. Like I said, we'll do all those songs from our respective groups. So hit after hit after hit after hit. So it's going to be a great night. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And thanks for pointing that out, because a lot of people will remember the Alexandria location. So this is the very first. You guys are going to be the very first act opening up that new space.
Opening up that new space, and so we'll be there. Like I said, with the 25th, and it should be a lot of fun. Like I said, come on out and join us, and we're just going to take you back with some of those great songs that you know and love. The first kiss, the wedding song. All of those songs are there. You know what I mean? Only you. Get ready.
Because here they come.
Under the boardwalk. That's it. You got it.
I love it.
Right on time.
That's gonna be a high bar to top. You open up with you guys. I mean, where do you go from there? Oh, that's awesome. All right, cool. Well, let's I wanted to set the stage of those are the two events that people can go check out Friday and Saturday in DC. Did I hear you guys will also be doing a couple, maybe book signings or autograph signings at the convention center too?
Yes, we'll be at the convention center both on the 25th and the 26th. We'll be stopping through to sign some books and greet folks, and we always want to meet new people and bring people into our circle and join their circle. Like I said, and we'll be hosted by Kathy Teets, who's the owner of the Headline Books, which is our publisher, and she's a great lady. So it should be a good afternoon. Come on through the American Library Association Awards at the DC Convention Center, and we'll be there all day.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, let's I want to talk about some that your all's individual groups. We can go one at a time, just in talk about when you each joined the group, but some of the famous hits and stuff. And let's get Joe Blunt in here with the Drifters, because like as 50 Cent said, he's been patiently waiting. So Joe Blunt, you said you joined the Drifters in what was it, 1976 or something like that?
75, actually.
75.
Right.
Okay, cool. So tell me, maybe remind us, maybe some of our younger listeners of, when the band originally formed and, what it was like stepping into those big shoes.
Well, those were some big shoes, for sure. The group originally was formed back in 1953. And of course, they had a series of hit records down through the years, and a lot of notable lead singers as well.
Yeah.
Lee King, Johnny Moore, and Rudy Lewis, and those guys formed some of the great hits pictures from the old days. So under the boardwalk,
Yeah.
on the roof, Saturday night.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Series
And-
of big
oh,
experiences.
absolutely. I want to talk about some of those songs. Have you? I mean, obviously you joined on a little after they were originally released, but you've been singing them, and a lot of people know your voice as those songs from live performances for years. Do you know any of like, you know, the making of stories that, you know, either other guys in the group told you about them or anything, or, you know, do you know like how Under the Boardwalk was written to begin with?
Well, there are a lot of stories that we told. Can't be repeated here.
What's your version at the end of the telephone?
But one of the great experiences of working with guys who have been in the business for as long as Benny King and Johnny Moore, those guys, being able to react to some of the stories they've told down through the years and their experiences on the road and so learn a lot about music and about the business as well. Working with those guys, amazing. Johnny Moore, who started with the Drifters way back in 1993, and also Benny King, great lead singer. Quite an experience.
Hey Joe, your sound's cutting out. Is there possible maybe like lean? Is there a lean into the microphone more? Or I can't. I'm not sure.
Okay, was that any
Oh,
better?
that's better. That's better. You
Oh,
know what?
all right.
You were drifting. Sounded like you were under the boardwalk.
Old habits are hard to get rid of for a long time. But anyway, is that better though? You can hear me better now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Just repeat a little of just a couple of last lines you were saying.
Okay, I was just saying that, you know, my experience with the Drifters was quite an experience, having to work with guys like Johnny Moore and Benny King, years and years and years, and been involved on many of the great hit records at the time. So when I came in the group, I was sort of the young guy, the baby. That was quite an experience, just working with those guys and listening to all the old stories of the old days and all of that, and as well as having the opportunity to record with the group as well on some of the newer recordings that we did primarily in Europe.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so many good ones, and it blows my mind that how they cycle through the generations. You know, you'll be watching you know, like The Sandlot or something, and this magic moment, like a whole kids, that's how my generation knows these songs, is we see them in all these movies and shows, or listening to the records with our, you know, our parents or grandparents, and then we love them too. I mean, I think they're timeless. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Drifter. Let's hear from Theo real quick, because he hadn't been in much either yet. So Theo Peoples, you joined the Temptations in early 90s and Four Tops in late 90s, is that right?
Yes, I joined the Temptations in 1992.
Okay.
And that lineup, they threw me in with a lineup of a long list of lead singers like Dennis Edwards, of course, David Ruffin,
Yes,
the late great Ollie Woodson, and I believe I came while Ollie was still in the group. That's when I joined. So just to work with him was quite an amazing feat, because this brother was just excellent. He was amazing at his craft. And so I learned a lot from him. And then later on, 1998, I left the Temptations and I joined the Four Tops. And Levi Stubbs was the lead singer at that time. He was actually the only lead singer of the Four Tops. And I replaced Lawrence Payton when he passed. So I had the pleasure of watching Levi Stubbs do what he does. And here again, this was another man who was just excellent at his craft, and the way he phrased lyrics and how he sang them. He was just an incredible cat, on as well as off stage. And we were in Las Vegas one weekend doing a show, and out of nowhere, Levi Stubbs said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've been singing for you for 47 years, and I think this is going to be my last night. ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Theo Peoples.
That's a moment.
None of us had an idea that this was coming. So
where was it? Where did he make that announcement? What town?
We were in Las Vegas. I believe it was at the hotel no longer exists now. It escapes me. But anyway, it's on the very last night. We were there for 6 days, and on the very last night of that show,
wow,
he announced that. And so,
you didn't know you'd be taking over?
None of us knew.
Wow.
Nobody knew. He decided in that moment that he wanted to retire and spend the rest of his life with his family.
Wow.
And that was a mountaintop moment for me.
Wow, yeah. I mean, and like we mentioned, you're the only one to be lead singer of both Temptations and Four Tops. And real quick, I want to remind our listeners that, if you want, head back in the archives on this same station, the same podcast, because we talked with Otis Williams and the late Dennis Edwards right before he passed of the Temptations. So check out that episode. And then as far as the Four Tops, we previously talked with Duke Fakir one time, who's a legend as well. But very cool. Very cool to have you in the mix now, Theo Peoples, for a while now. I mean, I say the 90s and I think it's recent in my mind, but it's been a while now. You've been running the show. Very cool. And Theo, real quick, just remind us, I mean, I almost don't need to say it, but remind us some of the famous Temptation songs that they might hear when they come to your show. I mean, there's My Girl and so many.
Of course, My Girl, Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got, Get Ready, as well as Four Top songs. We do a medley of Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch, Reach Out, Standing in the Shadows of Love. It's quite a few hits.
So many. We love them all. Are we going to hear any Ain't Too Proud to Beg too?
Absolutely.
Okay. I ain't too proud to beg for you to put that in the sentence.
Waiting for that one. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, and then bringing it back around, Joe Coleman, who started off talking in this interview. Of course, you've been with the Platters for a while. I think you joined in the early '80s. How did you join the group? And remind our listeners too how they originally formed, and then before you jumped on.
Yeah. Now, from my joining the group is kind of it's rags to riches story in that I was living in New York City. I'd moved to New York from Washington, D.C. at the time to seek fame and fortune, and the fortune was elusive. I was doing a lot of work as an artist, but I was having a tough time, and at that particular time, I was down to my last 10 cents. I had 10 cents in my pocket. And I had recently been given a number of the Platters organization by a friend of mine who's working in Atlantic City. And she told me that the Platters were looking for a new singer, replacement or something. And I used that dime to dial that number. And I called. But at that point, I was really just out there, and
you were down to your last dime, literally.
Down to my last dime, and to decide what I would, how I would best use that sense. The other option was to, and this was back, we talked in the 80s, to use a payphone to call my parents to come and get me. And that I just could not face that option. I just couldn't do it. So I called the guy with the Platters and went down and auditioned, and they said, "All right, come on in." So, that's how we began. The group, like the Drifters, the group started back in about '53, and had their first hit in '55 which is Only You, #1.
You didn't say it right. It's Only You.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. I usually go you right, but you sang it better than I do.
No.
Yeah, from the stage down there.
I'm surprised my mic didn't fall off when I started.
But that's how that went. Yep. 53, 55, they had their first hit. 80, whatever, something. I came in and worked with the group saw a good portion of the world, and it's been really, it was a fantastic journey. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so many hits, My Prayer, Only You. There's so many. I think my favorite might be Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I like
Yeah.
how fun is it to sing that one note? Because isn't there like a you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah. No, yeah. But yeah, Smoke in Your Eyes, my prayer, The Great Pretender, Twilight Time, so many wonderful songs, and Only You again being the uh, the first #1 record that the Platters had. And so it's always a pleasure to sing that song to kind of introduce the group in that moment. And so and I have to tell you, working with these guys, people, and I try to say this whenever I have the opportunity, people wonder how a group that exists of guys from the Drifters, the Temps, the Tops, and the Platters could actually meld as a unit. And the way I explain it is the Platters kind of came along, changed the game from the doo-wop era to moved into more sophisticated music. The Drifters had that New York edge, they kind of a little edge on the music. And then the Temps came along and put those two elements together, both the sophistication and those edgy things with David and Dennis and people like that singing lead on those powerful songs, and Four Tops in that same vein with Levi and the group being very, very, very pop. They went straight to the pop world, really, and so it all culminates in just a set of music that flows seamlessly throughout the shows. Now there's no jerking motion going from a Platter song to a Temptation song. It just flows, and it was just the way I envisioned it. The way we saw it happen, the way it's happening.
It all fits together.
All fits together. Yes.
I love it. And it just happens to be in my opinion, some of the greatest music of all time. It's just the best. I'm smiling ear to ear. I'm geeking out talking to you guys. Yeah. Well, cool. I guess before we run, one of you guys explain how you all flowed together, how you all fit together to form this new group called Voices of Classic Soul. When was Voices of Classic Soul actually founded?
Ooh. When did we meet Theo Peoples? That's when that performed.
When were you an entity actually doing shows?
Yeah, we were doing the shows. Yeah, we came together, and I guess that must have been about 2017 or something like that.
Okay.
28. Yeah.
Yeah, 2018.
2018.
Awesome.
We had a show coming up because we had already been doing things as Linda Coleman and Blunt LCB. But we had a show coming up in West Virginia. It was with a 55-piece orchestra in the Charleston Orchestra down in West Virginia on the lake. It was just all set up, but we didn't have our third guy, and we just, between my manager and I, Burke Allen, Allen Management, we tracked Theo down, and he agreed to do that show with us. And it went so very well until the next year. And then like 2019, when we had the next opportunity to use him, we brought him in as a permanent member. Unfortunately, it was just prior to COVID that we actually that we just come off of very successful shows at Busch Gardens, Tampa. We did a week of shows down there and had a series of shows lined up. And as you know, things began to first they were postponements. They were not cancellations. They were postponements, and as we know the rest. And it became cancellation. Well, we're so happy to be back, and that's in fact the flyer that I sent out says we're back for a night to remember, so we're so happy to be back in the game, back doing what we love to do with these two fantastic guys. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're happy that you're back and carrying on the legacy of all four of these groups we've mentioned. I mean, these are all, I believe, all Rock and Roll Hall of Fame groups. These are legendary groups, and the three of you have been carrying the baton of each of those groups for decades now. So that's really, really cool. It's like an old super group, as they say, Yeah. I love it.
I have one thing. I know I've been talking a lot, Jeff, but I have to say this because it's so important to the story. that guy sitting over in the corner over there, Joe Blunt and I have known each other since we were 7 or 8 years old.
Wait, whoa. How did you meet?
Yeah.
Where is this? Where did you grow up?
Well, we grew up in Washington, D.C.
All right.
D.C.
Represent.
guy. And the story, as the story goes, and I'll make it short. My mom, who called me Joey, coming home from school, and she says, "Joey, it's time to get ready for choir rehearsal." And I said, "Mom, I'm not in the choir." And she says, "Oh, I didn't tell you. You're in the choir." And so his mom, Joe's mom, and my mom were co-directors of the junior choir at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in Northwest Washington, 2nd and Rhode Island Avenue Northwest. And that's where we learned group harmony, learned how to sing together, choral harmony, all those kinds of things as members of that group. Neither of which either was one of us joined. We were put in the group, and that's it. That's how we got started.
I'm sensing a theme. They say you're in the choir, and then they told Theo you're running the group. They just
that's why you're in the group.
Bring it on you every time, but it works out. Hey, Joe Blunt, I want to hear your memories of growing up in those early days with Joe Coleman too. I mean, can you imagine, you're both what, 7 or 8? I assume probably Drifters and, Platters and all those songs are probably playing in the background while you're growing up, right? Could you have ever imagined that these two little kids would then be fronting those bands? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was quite a time. Interestingly enough, our moms were co-directors in the choir there. So we got exposed to music at a fairly early age.
Yeah.
Not so much thinking in terms of making it a profession, but this is what we were going to do. And our early training and so forth in terms of music and all that, based on that those days. Benefited from that. It was a special time then. Brings back a lot of memories, all different kinds.
Yeah.
The foundation that I think got us going into the music business.
That's great. That's awesome. And then Theo, real quick, before Zoom boots us off here with this time limit, don't they know we're on with 4 bands here? Theo, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, and I've been there pretty much all my life until I joined the Temptations, and then I had to move to California because that's where they were based out of. And then when I joined the Four Tops, I thought I had to move to Detroit. They said, you can live where you want. So I went back to St. Louis. It's kind of centrally located on a 2.5-hour flight from anywhere in the country.
Right, exactly. Well, you had the St. Louis Arch, and we had Arch Campbell. All right. Okay. I'll leave it at that. A shout out to my movie critic pal. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, everyone, this is let me get this, make sure I get it right. Joe Coleman with the Platters, Joe Blunt with the Drifters, Theo Peoples with the Temptations and Four Tops, all coming together. This super group, Voices of Classic Soul. It's going to be at the Indie Book Awards at the Mayflower Hotel Friday, and then the Carlisle Club opening it up, the brand new spot in DC on Saturday. So thank you so much. This was so much fun. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.